You're following our Olympic coverage. Well, India would be taking on Argentina in a Pool A game. Fourth game for India. Remind you previously, India had won against Spain, but before that came 1-7 loss to Australia. But India managing to pull up its socks in the following game. Welcome here, and I am joined as my co-anchor. Joining me here is Amit Arora. Welcome, Amit.
Hi, good morning. And of course, both of us are joined by Anupam Gulati. And the moment you see Anupam ji in the studios means hockey match is about to begin.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. So, India versus Argentina. What's your expectations?
Well, India all set, I would imagine. Barring that, I wouldn't call it a debacle, but it was a humiliating defeat against Australia. Keep that behind on the back burner. Forget about it. It's a fresh day. You had a victory after that against Spain 2 days ago. And I would imagine the Indians would be looking forward to this game against Argentina, even though Argentina are the defending Olympic champions. But the team of Rio, even if they've got 8 of their players who got them the gold medal there, but I don't see that spark in the games that we've seen from the Los Leonas. And India, on the other hand, struggled against New Zealand in the first game, as you saw, winning by just that solitary goal separating them. Close call with a 3-2. And then against Spain, a 3-0, even though don't go too much in the score line because it was not one-sided. Spain, on their own hand, did dominate a couple of quarters, but India carried the day in the end. So now, with this game, it is a victory here for India will ensure that they move into the next round, which is the quarterfinal. Argentina will also be looking forward to that kind of an affair. Now, if we look at the two across the platter, the first time these two teams played was in the 1948 Olympics, and India had beaten them 9-1. You had Balbir Singh Senior, he chipped in with 4. Patrick Jansen had 3 of them. 2 were scored by the Indian skipper, the outside right, Kishan Lal. So after that, of course, it's been there 2 debacles against Argentina. 2012, they lost to them, and they lost once earlier as well. But in the last Olympics, India had beaten Argentina in the pool stages.
Yes.
So I think there's everything to gain heart from.
Okay.
Plus, one must remember, Argentina are without their most potent weapon. I'm talking of the penalty corner or the drag flick king. I use the word king again in modern terminology.
Yes.
Gonzalo Piat.
He's not there?
He's not in the team. He had a problem
With the
with the coaches, etc., a couple of years ago. So he's not gone back to Argentina. He plays in Germany for Mannheim. And he's there, so he didn't show any interest to come in. That's, I think, a great thing because he's been a prolific scorer for Argentina who really got it all through them in the past.
Okay, that's a very interesting piece of news that Anupam ji has shared, that while India did beat Argentina and while 8 players of the Rio Olympic gold medal winning team are still there in the team that is there in Tokyo, but there's no Gonzalo, the penalty corner king. There's another interesting dimension to today's date that we will share with all of you and ask Anupam ji also about his memory. But here are some of the results that has been there for India in the Tokyo 2020 so far. India started out their campaign in Group A against New Zealand, and that is where India won 3-2. And India, after that, lost to Australia 1-7. India beat Spain, so that was a good comeback, 3-0. And this is the 4th group match that India will play today. But before the play starts, Anupam ji, let me congratulate you, because today it's an important date. It is 29th of July 2021, and go back 4 decades. It was on this day in 1980 when India beat Spain in Moscow to win the 8th gold.
Absolutely. I was witness to that match. I was doing the commentary there.
Wow.
India versus Spain, the final. And it was quite a seesaw, let me tell you that. And as far as Spain was concerned, India, of course, were favourites. And at that time, it was the Olympics, which was boycotted, as you know. Yeah. We all know about that. There were only 6 teams. There was no final. There was no semi-final. It was a round robin. And India and Spain were to play in the last pool match, which was the decider, because the other teams were, run-of-the-mill kind of teams. So it was a 4-3 for India, and I still remember some spectacular goals. But there were, the heart was in the mouths of all the Indian supporters, because every time India would take the lead, Spain would fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Spain, that charismatic defender, the penalty corner man, Juan Amat, was the man who scored all the 3 goals.
Okay.
And it
But for
was a
India, I
happy-
think it was M.K. Kaushik Saab, a goal.
Kaushik got
Mohammad
the third
Shahid,
goal for India. Shahid got a goal as well.
and
I
a
think
brace by
Burman,
Sondi.
Surinder Sodhi
Yeah.
was the centre forward. But, the Indian goals were there. Late Maharaj Kaushik had a spectacular goal playing on the right flank. He entered the circle from the edge of the D and he fired a forehand. It went past the goalkeeper. Flying Carrera was the goalkeeper for Spain. And Juan Amat was the man who was captaining Spain. He fired all the 3 penalty corners, and just before the long, the hooter, they had another penalty corner, but that was foiled. So that is a match which is, etched in my memory at least.
Ours
And
too.
thank you so much for describing it in such
Yeah.
vivid details. We could actually visualize it. Staying on the topic of India defeating Spain, albeit in 2021, that is the previous game, there were a lot of corners conceded, which the coach too pointed out is an issue that India really needs to take care
I
of.
think they have to be very careful with that, but of course, if you see the trend, you see New Zealand had more penalty corners than you. Australia, of course, let's not discuss India-Australia's game. And in Spain, as you rightly mentioned. So here, they've got to be careful. But the format that Argentina play with, they largely play, it is attack sporadically, but largely defense. They are a very defense-oriented team. And a lot of football strategies in these Latin American teams for hockey. Argentina is a case in exception. But they've got a goalkeeper who's the oldest member
Yeah.
of all the teams
Okay.
playing in the Olympic hockey. He's 42 now,
Okay.
right? Juan Vivaldi. He's playing, I remember him, the first Olympics he played in 2004 in Athens.
Okay.
They missed out in one Olympic Games in 2008. They didn't qualify. He's playing his 4th Olympic
But on
Games.
player, Vivaldi versus Srijesh.
Srijesh, yes.
You will still pick Srijesh ahead of
I would imagine Srijesh is a shade better. But the very fact that a 41 or 42-year-old
Yeah.
is in a game like field hockey, right? Where those shots come like bullets,
Yes.
right? He is still able to have his reflexes, his hand-eye coordination. It's fantastic.
One more thing, please clarify, because in all these matches, I heard the commentator wanting clarity on this 5-meter rule. What is this 5-meter rule that has come? Umpires sometimes, judge it in favor or against you.
No, the 5-meter rule was always there. It is now, it's being enforced. That is to give, you see what has happened is now, you've got that self-start,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So if you're playing, you have the option of passing it to a player,
Right.
or you can take it yourself and double tap.
Okay.
और प्रोग्रेस की बात की, एक और जगह प्रोग्रेस हुआ है हॉकी में. कुछ नौवी मोमेंट्स इंडिया को जरूर एंड्योर करने पड़े थे. एक बार इक्वलाइज कर लिया अर्जेंटीना ने उसके बाद, लेकिन फिर टुवर्ड्स द डाइंग मोमेंट्स ऑफ द मैच इंडिया वाज रिलेंटलेस.
Oh, absolutely. We all knew, we were discussing this before the match began, that Argentina is a team which will not give you too much of space, not give you too much of leeway. But I'm happy, and we all are happy, that India has eventually, with a 2-goal cushioning, a 3-1 victory, India's 3rd victory in the Olympic Games in this pool, and which means India has qualified for the quarter-final.
Very nice.
That is the important thing. There was a lot of negativity and talk going on that will India or will India not make it to the last 8 after that big defeat against Australia. But they've come back, they beat Spain, and today I think they were better than the Argentines. The simple factor is, however, I'm not very happy with the penalty corners, even though Varun Kumar, who came for the first time in this tournament, he was not in the 16 in the earlier 3 matches. He was included by the coach Graham Reed today. Both he and he was there, and we saw that Birinder Lakra was not part of the 16, and also along with Birinder Lakra,
Lalit
we
Upadhyay.
didn't have Lalit Upadhyay. So anyway,
Did that come as a surprise that Birendra Lakra, Lalit Upadhyay were the two left out from the score of 16? Was that surprising?
I would imagine that Lalit Upadhyay was not able to sparkle at all in the games that we saw. And they would require, Varun Kumar is also a specialist drag flicker. So they may have the skipper, the coach must have thought that you got Rupinder Pal, you got Harmanpreet, why not get your third arrow? We're talking about archery, why don't you get your third tir also, just in case? And that tir fired.
What about birthday boy? You were mentioning Shamsher Singh.
Yes,
was the birthday boy
Shamsher Singh
today.
was there. He did play on and off, but he was not in the scorers list, but he was there. He'll remember this day.
Yes.
Also, apart from having perhaps a celebration when the team goes back to the village at some time. And mind you, India has the last game against Japan tomorrow. So now what has happened is this Pool A has with Australia the only unbeaten team, India getting their third victory, getting 9 points through to the quarterfinals. Two more slots left, Amit and Megha. Now three दावेदार हैं.
अच्छा.
उसमें all three have 4 points.
Okay.
Now in that, who are the team? Spain. They got 4 points.
Right.
Spain meets Australia tomorrow. The odds are against them.
Right.
Right. The other make or break is New Zealand versus Argentina.
Okay.
Right. The winner of that will progress.
Okay.
Right. So now what will happen in case it's a draw? Both of them go. Should Spain lose to Australia? So it's still very open, but the important thing is two slots are decided, which is Australia and India.
Just
If they're going to do it as a set piece. Or you're looking at an indirect, where you've seen the other day Dilpreet getting that deflection.
Yes.
So those are all pre-planned
Variations.
things. So you got those variations, you got plan A, B, C. The coaches know what they're doing, but it is the execution. It's easier said than done really, but I would imagine they need to improve a bit on that. As far as the statistics that we've seen.
हम लगातार विक्टोरियस मोमेंट्स और सेलिब्रेटरी मोमेंट्स देख रहे हैं. एक खास बात जो भारतीय हॉकी में पिछले कुछ सालों में देखने को आई है, आखिरी डाइंग मोमेंट्स में पर्टिकुलरली जब 1-2 मिनट बचते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा गोल कंसीड किया करती थी टीम, लेकिन फिटनेस जब से इंप्रूव हुआ है वो एक चीज इंप्रूव हुई और आज तो 2 गोल भी पड़े 4 मिनट.
जी बिल्कुल ठीक कहा आपने. एंड हाउ यू प्ले ऑन दैट डे, Amit, is the thing that matters.
But you know, with
you may be the prima donnas, you may be the who's who, but if you will not perform on that day, nobody
will you keep Birendra Lakra and Lalit Upadhyay at 17, 18, or will you play them in 16 for the...
No. That is not... We cannot comment on those kind of things. That is the prerogative of the coaching staff.
Right.
I do not know whether there could be some niggling injury somewhere. They want to maybe recover, so we...
But on the Carlos thing, that's very interesting. Is it unprecedented? A coach of men's team, also coach of women's team?
I've never heard of a second instance, to be honest, from a regular playing team. Right?
Yes.
I've never heard of.
ग्रुप ए के मुकाबले में भारत ने डिफेंडिंग चैंपियन अर्जेंटीना को 3-1 से हराकर क्वार्टर फाइनल में अपनी जगह पक्की कर ली है.